We're taking a look at the Ranger 80 antenna from REZ Antennas, this time on K8MRD Radio Stuff. So I gotta say a big thank you to Mike, the owner of REZ Antennas, for sending me this. This is just a loaner for us to try out and take a look at. So thank you, Mike, I appreciate it. So first off, I have an obscene amount of stuff in this bag. I was a little worried if I was gonna be able to fit everything. Usually I take a little bit bigger bag with me, but I got it all in. And as far as the construction and quality of this bag, it's very nice. You got a nice big durable handle up here. The back has two really thick padded, well, pads. It's got a little orange whistle there if you get lost and need help. It's got some it's got a waist strap and all that stuff. It's got everything you need in a bag. Obviously you've got your two holders here. We've got the antenna itself, and the cool thing about this, these are on little buckles. You can just unbuckle this, take out the antenna. Here we have on this side, let me unbuckle this. We've got our stainless steel death spike, which is nice. This thing is very beefy. And then we have our, I'm not sure what kind of like whip you would call this, but it's kind of like one of those military style whips. That's our antenna itself, our radiating element. Up top, we've got just a little pouch here. Got my mouse, my charging cable for my laptop. Next pouch, choke, antenna analyzer, power cable USB. Here is 63 feet of Messian Poloni Hyperflex 5 coax. We've got our 4 counterpoise wires. And I also brought along, though I didn't bring the legs, this is for the tripod. He's actually redesigning the tripod to have the legs spread out a bit wider, so I'm not going to use that, but very, very well machined parts. And then down here in this bottom pouch, and I like that it opens all the way up, I've got a 20 amp hour Bioenno, microphone, and my 7300 with the portable zero rails. All fits in this bag, but wait, there's more, because the back here has this little zipper where I have my laptop. So literally all this fit inside that bag. Everything I need to get on the air. So awesome, we're off to a good start. Now, being one who's tested and reviewed a lot of antennas, I can tell you the build quality of this is second to none. This is some very precision machining going into this. Basically think if Chameleon were to make a Wolf River Coils antenna, that's what this is. This is a very hefty, well-built, solid coil here. Starting at the bottom, you've got your 3/8 by 24 thread. You've got this center puck. That's where you're gonna connect your counterpoise wires, which the counterpoise wire, the attention to detail in this is amazing. Even down to the counterpoise wires that have, he thought enough to give you these rubber tie things, which is just fantastic. When you look at the construction of this, even just where the SO239 fits into place, everything just is so precision machined. The coil wire is nice, thick, strong, rigid stuff. This collar is really what kind of sets it apart, honestly. There's almost zero play in this at all. It takes a bit of resistance to move it up and down, which is actually a good thing in my opinion, but it doesn't wobble. The tab that actually connects the coil to the collar is actually quite wide, and it's concave, so it conforms to the radius of the wire. But the coolest thing about this, when you go all the way up, this top section actually is a little bit wider than the coil itself, and that is so when you slide this collar all the way up, you still don't have any play, unlike some of the other antennas on the market. So just absolutely a solid bit of kit. The ground spike here, this is probably a 1/2 inch thick. This feels, it's too heavy. I would guess this is steel, and then you've got your thread there, a nice point at the bottom, and then this is your whip here that just kind of snaps together like a tent pole, kind of like that. So let's set this thing up and see how it performs. Setting up the antenna should be pretty easy. We're gonna simply drive this spike into the ground. Very nice. Then we take our coil, screw it to the spike, Now we can take our whip, and they say to go from the shortest part first, and these just snap into place. There's a little doingy inside. That's that. And then we'll screw this to the coil. Then we're gonna take our counterpoise wires and throw them out. He's already got them coiled, so you can just throw them out. And you just plug these banana plugs into the little coil down here. There's 8 slots in there. Man, this this is some pretty fast setup here. Look at that. Look at that. You can't beat that. This is very, very nicely done. That's it. Setting all this up took under 2.5 minutes. That's crazy. Now we just plug in our coax and tune it up. So let's see what kind of tune we can get on this antenna. So after setting up the antenna, I went through all the bands 80 through 10 meters and took some readings of SWR. On 80 meters, I was aiming for 3,900, and at 3,905, we got our SWR down to 1.38 to 1, so pretty darn good there. On 40 meters, I just aimed for the middle of the band, and at 7162, we're 1.17 to 1, absolutely fantastic. 30 meters across the whole band, we're about 1.55 to 1. 20 meters started to creep up a little bit. I do blame the soil conductivity here. We're basically pretty much over sand, and I've had similar results with other antennas of this kind. So your results will most likely vary depending on your soil conductivity, but we got 1.61 to 1 at 14.143. 17 meters is looking really good. We got 1.276 at 18.12, so pretty much 1.2 across the entire band. Very good there. Now on 15 meters, I couldn't really get a tune. I found I actually had to collapse a couple segments of the whip and kind of Velcro them together. Once I did that, I got down to 1.55 to 1 at 21.247. For 12 meters, I had to collapse a couple more sections of the whip, and we got down to 1.61 basically across the whole band on 12. And for 10 meters, I kept those same 4 segments collapsed, and we got pretty darn good. We're under 2.1 across the entire band, which is pretty spectacular, but at 28.391, we're 1.54 to 1. So now let's get on the air and see what we can do. So I forget what the power rating for this antenna is, but it's pretty significant. Mike tells me we should have no problems whatsoever running 100 watts on FT8. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna sit on 20 meters, play some FT8, and I'll come back and tell you how it went. Well, we didn't have any problems getting a pile up on FT8. Look at this. Look at my receive frequency window, man. That's, whew, that worked. Okay, so I've been running FT8 for about 40 minutes now. So let's go check the transformer and see if it's hot. Just non-stop blasting. I was running 70 watts. So let's see here. Oh, it's still, it's slightly warm here on the collar. A little bit. I mean, everything below it is cold, obviously, but I mean, just barely. That's nothing. So handling FT8, no problem at all. Whip feels good. Yeah, that's really the only place where there's a little bit of heat is right here. I mean, here's where it's tapped. So yeah, did a very good job. It's not melty or bendy, so it works. All right, so let's see what we can do on sideband now. We're on 20 meters, running 100 watts.
Kilo Foxtrot 0, Juliet, Quebec Delta. Kilo 6, Romeo Delta Juliet Mobile. Truck and hams back on the air. 59 Alpha Lima, QSL. Kilo 4, Alpha Delta Sierra. Alpha Brother 8, Alpha Sierra, QSL. Kilo Delta 9, Tango Alpha J. Whiskey 6, Uniform Delta Tango. Alpha Delta T, Charlie Delta Mike, QSL. Kilo India 5, November, Bravo November. No bad news. Alpha Juliet 5, Charlie. Kilo Charlie 8, Victor Romeo Papa. You are 5555 in the Detroit, Michigan, Roger.
73 QRZ.
Alpha Charlie 9, QRZ 8, Victor Juliet Victor.
Ooh, that's pile up. Alpha Charlie 9 X-ray whiskey.
Alpha Charlie 9, X-ray whiskey. You're 55 into Whiskey India. Whiskey 0, November Kilo Alpha QRP.
So without a doubt, this antenna absolutely performs. We had a huge pile up on FT8. That was awesome. Then when I switched over to sideband, I actually ended up getting 96 contacts in 38 minutes. We got all over the country. Take a look at the map right here. Very good spread with this. Obviously, it's an omnidirectional vertical antenna, so I expect those kind of results. What I like about the antenna, I mean, first and foremost, the build quality of this thing is, like I said, second to none. Fantastic machining, quality, rigidness, power handling capabilities, anything you'd want. The spike works great. It's big and heavy, and it's stuck in the ground very well. Got nothing really bad to say about it, other than I'm not a huge fan of this style whip. This is actually my first time using kind of one of these military style whips, and having to collapse it to get to the higher frequencies was kind of, it wasn't a pain, but it was just another thing to do aside from adjusting the collar. If I were to do it again, I'd probably just use a telescoping antenna or a telescoping whip and probably leave this at home, but that's just my personal preference. I know a lot of guys do like this kind of thing, but it just makes shorting the whip a lot easier than having to collapse this and Velcro them together. Another reason I'm not a huge fan of this style whip is it takes up more space. With any kind of just telescopic whip, they're very compact. They don't take up a lot of space. I can put them in a PVC tube for protection, and it's just less space. The other thing, this antenna is a bit heavier than other antennas of this kind of style. So if you're thinking of going hiking, you know, miles through the woods, obviously you're probably not going to bring a 7300 and a 20 amp Bioenno, but it is probably a couple extra pounds than other types of coil antennas. So there is that, but that's the compromise when you get something that is this finely machined and quality parts. Like, he spared no expense in this. So it is probably the best antenna of this style that I have seen or used or that's on the market. So very fine job with this. The other thing, the price. This is a high-end antenna. This is not your $150 Wolf River coils, but this is also the kind of antenna where you're gonna buy it, it's gonna last a lifetime. You're probably gonna hand it down to your kid if he gets into ham radio. So I don't suspect any problems with this. I mean, if you get a chance to see Mike at a show or see this antenna, if your friend has it, you know the quality is there. So, you know, it is over I think it's right around $500, the price. I'll put it up right here with the actual prices. I can't remember, but there is that. But you pay for what you get. So anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. If you want to support the channel, you can go to patreon.com/K8MRD Radio Stuff. You can also follow me on Twitter @K8MRD, and we'll see you again on another episode of K8MRD Radio Stuff. 73, guys.